On the outskirts of Birmingham, Alabama, police make a grisly discovery.
You've got what looks to be execution-style murders. That's nuts, that's crazy.
The gun was pressed right to the skin.
A dedicated investigator.
It's another contact wound.
I don't quit.
Must give his all.
The longer I work, the more people I talk to,
I'm on my way.
I can figure out almost anything.
This guy looks familiar.
You could tell that this was not your typical homicide.
What y'all have?
Missing persons case.
The detective will follow one jaw-dropping lead
My boy told me the story.
to the next.
He says this guy Buck is an eyewitness.
To uncover the truth
Young boy punked out.
in a brutal double homicide.
He said he gonna kill me, and he gonna kill my mama if I ever say something.
It's almost like giving a priest a confession.
We're on the west side of Jefferson County, Alabama, just outside of Birmingham. Jefferson County is the most populous county in the state. It has deep ties to the civil rights movement.
The town we're in is called Mulga. This is a small, sleepy hamlet. It's a rural area filled with hard-working families.
This place looks a bit like a town that time forgot. But back in 2011, this very neighborhood will be at the heart of a brutal murder mystery. In the morning of March 5th, 2011, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office gets multiple calls about shots fired on the 300 block of 1st Avenue.
When deputies arrive on scene, they find a black male lying in the middle of the street with an obvious gunshot wound to his head.
As responding officers begin their search of the immediate area and the perimeter, they notice there's a second victim who's sitting on some steps about 50 feet from the original victim in the middle of the street.
These two murders were related, so for these deputies to find that was a shocker.
Clearly, what the deputies are dealing with is a criminal homicide of two people, and the individual assigned to that case is Sergeant Curtis Williams.
At the time I got this case, I had been in investigations approximately 10 years. I mean, it's just an adrenaline rush. It's almost like a quarterback playing football. He's sitting on the bench and the defense is on the field. But when they put him in, it's time to go.
Detective? Deputy? Now let's get started.
One of my best attributes, I think, I don't sleep much. And if I'm involved in a homicide, my mind is constantly running.
Got multiple gunshots.
So I can work longer than most people, and I like to solve stuff. There were shell casings down by the body of the individual in the street.
He's able to determine that the weapon uses a .22 caliber weapon.
Probably from a rifle.
If they're ejecting and they're on the street, it's usually a rifle. .22 caliber pistols are revolver, typically.
I see the young man laying in the roadway, and there's blood everywhere.
The victim appears to be in his 20s to 30s.
So we got one entry wound here.
There was a contact wound to the back of his head. Anytime you get close to someone and pull the trigger, the gun will burn that person. Some stippling, they call it. Little specks, burn specks on the body.
The gun was pressed right to the skin.
And based on the blood and where it was at, I knew that there had to be more wounds.
He was shot multiple times, a few times.
And that explains the kill shot. They likely were still alive as they're getting hit in the body because the rounds are so small. The killer now has to ensure that they're dead. Stand over them with a long gun, .22, press that barrel against their head and pull the trigger.
Detective Williams.
The deputy coroner arrives on scene.
Time to get to work.
Unlike some shows you see on TV, we don't touch the bodies because we don't want to disturb any evidence.
There's multiple gunshot wounds, at least 6. Any ID on him?
They checked his pockets and they didn't find any identification on him.
Let's go see the other guy.
Okay.
After observing the victim number 1 lying in the roadway, there was a belt probably 20 or 30 feet away from him, tied in a manner that made us believe that that belt had been used to bound his hands behind his back. The bodies were about 50 to 70 feet apart. The other individual sitting on the steps of that abandoned house. He appeared to be mid to late 50s. He was a very light-complected black male. He's in a seated position like I'm sitting in this chair, and he's shot right in the forehead.
It's another contact wound.
You can see that bullet wound to his head with soot around it, so you know somebody stuck a gun to his head and pulled the trigger.
That's an execution. There's no doubt about it.
Think our guy was bound with this.
This guy looks familiar, but there's no ID.
So many times, Quinn and I have had cases where our victims are no ID. Sergeant Williams has the same dilemma right now.
There are more 22s here.
What Sergeant Williams has is literally a breadcrumb trail of shell casings from his original victim on the steps of this abandoned house all the way to the poor victim in the middle of the street, the younger guy.
Think our other guy was trying to get away.
The elderly gentleman that was sitting down was shot first. The other gentleman ran, and then the shooting started behind him. He shot him as he was running away, and then he walked him down and shot him again.
So right now, Sergeant Williams has to consider what's the motive here. Is it purely homicidal rage? Probably not.
This area is an area that we've had drug problems in before.
So what are you thinking? Drug murder?
There's got to be some kind of drug deal going wrong, or somebody trying to rob somebody or something to that effect with regards to drugs because of the area that it occurred in.
It started with a kidnapping.
It was obvious that someone had brought these guys there against their will. They didn't live in this house. This house was abandoned. The houses next to it, they were abandoned, and they weren't from the area. So it was clear to me that, okay, we've got another crime scene.
All right, call me if you find anything.
Well,
Right now, Sergeant Williams' #1 task is to identify these victims. If he can do that, he can really kickstart his investigation.
Lo and behold, the phone rings. It's the deputy coroner.
Detective Williams.
Curtis, I figured out why that guy on the step looked familiar. It's from my old beat.
Are you sure it's the same guy?
Positive.
Turns out that the deputy coroner is a former cop.
I had run-ins with him.
The older victim apparently had a criminal history and was known for selling drugs back when this deputy coroner was a police officer for the Birmingham Police Department.
Already looked him up.
The luck on this guy. I mean, to actually have someone that may be familiar with the victim who's actually part of the investigation.
His name is Jerry Crawford. He's 58.
He has just moved that needle for Sergeant Williams exponentially. Like, he's put him in the right spot.
That's him.
And we come up with his current home address, and we immediately sent a street crimes unit from the sheriff's office there to his house.
Call me back once you get there.
It was a stroke of luck, we would call it. And time is of the essence when you're trying to solve something like this.
A short time later, Sergeant Williams is contacted by his team.
You find the house?
Yeah.
We get a call from one of our guys who says, "I'm at the house. There are people everywhere."
Birmingham police are already here.
We went from nothing to a whole lot.
I'm on my way. What do we have? Well, the killer knew what he was doing.
Veteran investigator Curtis Williams is working a double homicide in Jefferson County, Alabama.
Think our guy was bound with this.
This is something that's gone really bad. Sergeant Curtis doesn't know what this is.
His name is Jerry Crawford. He's 58.
After identifying one of the victims, he's surprised to find that police are already on scene at the victim's home.
I'm on my way.
Sergeant Curtis Williams' day just got started again. Sergeant William drives out to Jerry's house in North Birmingham, which is about 10 miles from where the bodies were actually dumped.
When I get to the scene, I talk with the sergeant from the Birmingham Police Department.
What do y'all have?
Missing persons case.
Sergeant Williams discovers that Birmingham PD had gotten multiple...
Your brother was murdered. I'm sorry.
Although we have to touch bases with the family, I need information more so than I need emotion at that time.
Can you tell me anything that might help?
We knew he was involved with drug dealing.
She was aware of his past history, wasn't aware that he was doing anything currently, but she was not naive to the fact.
Well, we found another body today.
Sergeant Curtis lets the family know that there was a second victim on scene, not far from Jerry Crawford's remains.
It could be, Willie Turner.
Willie Turner would be the guy that hung out at his house all the time. He would do little odd jobs for Jerry, clean his yard up and stuff like that for him.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for your loss. I'll be in touch.
I explained we're going to do our best to get this thing solved, and we're going to make sure that whoever did it, we want to see to it that they're prosecuted to the fullest.
Sergeant Williams finds the actual 911 caller is standing right there on scene, and his name is Joe Wright.
All right, so what can you tell me?
Well, Jerry was talking to somebody out front.
Joe Wright tells detectives that he actually heard Jerry speaking at around 9 a.m. and Jerry's telling somebody in an elevated tone that, he can't cooperate. He's got to go to a funeral.
Someone had died in the neighborhood, I think across the street from him, and Jerry was going to go to that funeral.
Right now, the irony can't be lost. Jerry Crawford preparing for a funeral. He dies that same day. There's something eerie in the universe with this whole case right now.
Who's Jerry talking to?
I don't know. It was just a lot of commotion in the front yard.
His girlfriend came home, and I think it was maybe an hour after the commotion that they went outside. And that's when they discovered glasses and a hat on the ground.
He's the first detective on scene essentially because he notices things that are out of place, which is what cops do.
The door was open. I called 911.
So right now, he knows the front lawn of Jerry Crawford's house is where this thing kicked off at.
Thanks.
We take control of the scene, and we secure the whole house. And we lock it down, and we go through it meticulously, looking for evidence. As we went in the house, it was just in disarray. There was stuff thrown all over the place, strewn all over the house, like somebody had been in there looking for something, like they had turned the place over.
Missing TV?
Yeah, and I don't think that's what they really wanted.
The only thing that we could determine that was missing were 2 TVs.
When you see a scene like this, people aren't looking for appliances and televisions. They're trying to find money and drugs.
It started to dawn on me, yeah, this guy is not out of the drug game, and that's why these people came and did what they did to him.
I'm heading to the office. If you need me, call me.
All right, will do.
We were feeling pretty good at this time, but when we're working a homicide, we want to keep our foot on the gas and not stop.
We met with Sergeant Williams, and he walked us through his next steps in this mysterious double homicide.
Let's chop it up, man. Looking forward to hearing all about it, man.
All right, let's get started.
So now at the point in your investigation where you have identified one victim, Jerry Crawford, what did you do next to identify the other victim?
Some of Crawford's family members were there at the crime scene, and people are walking up and asking, well, what about Willie? Where's Willie? This guy, Willie Turner. And immediately we get some of our guys to to go to the car and get on the computer, start pulling this information and see if we can get a picture of this guy. And then we were able to determine that Willie Turner, this is our second victim.
Identifying your victims, that's the biggest part of your investigation. And now you gotta go out and figure out what happened to them.
Yeah.
What's your next step?
We have one guy assigned to Crime Stoppers, and that's his permanent job. So immediately when we can't figure something out, I'm calling him, hey, this is what I got. Can you put something on Crime Stoppers? We need some help. And so he put that out.
That's all you need sometimes.
Right.
So up until this point, he's got really good information.
Detective Williams.
Then all of a sudden, he gets a tip through Crime Stoppers.
The tipster is remaining anonymous. He says this guy Buck is an eyewitness.
Does he know where Buck lives?
Yes.
This is like a homicide detective's dream, to get all this information.
He was a neighbor of Jerry's, lived a couple of doors away from Jerry.
Okay.
This guy's supposed to be a neighbor. He's running his mouth.
Thanks for the tip.
Sergeant Williams is gonna find out who this is before close of business. This could be what breaks the case.
Williams.
Homicide Sergeant Curtis Williams has just received a hot new tip in his double homicide investigation.
The tipster is remaining anonymous.
A tipster provides information that a person named Buck actually witnessed the crime go down.
Does he know where Buck lives?
Yes.
Curtis has got to talk to Buck ASAP.
We went looking for Buck to see what he would tell us. It was pretty easy to track him down.
I'm Detective Williams. I'd like to speak with you about your neighbor, Jerry Crawford.
A lot of times people have information, they just don't want to get involved. But when they're confronted by police, typically they want to do the right thing, especially if you have the right person asking the questions.
I think I seen it go down.
It turns out he saw the actual events taking place, the kidnapping aspect of it.
It was early in the morning.
He had came out of the house on that Saturday morning about 7 a.m. and he looked over at Jerry's house. He saw Jerry and Willie. Jerry was sitting in his car. Willie was standing next to Jerry's car. Buck also saw two unidentified black males that had apparently came to Jerry's house in a big, large burgundy vehicle. He kind of described the characteristics of one of them. He was specific about one was younger.
He's now placed two strange individuals in the presence of Jerry Crawford and Willie Turner.
I mean, I went on about my business, ran errands.
When he came back, it might have been 30 minutes later, he witnessed some other activity. Now there's a guy with a gun pointing at the ground.
What kind of gun was it?
Yeah, it was a rifle.
Got to think back to Sergeant Williams processing the crime scene 22 caliber shell casings that are ejected by a long gun. So this is probably the gun that was used to kill both of these victims.
And what happened next?
Nothing. I mean, I knew he was in the game.
Based off what Buck was telling Sergeant Williams, stuff happens over at Jerry's house all the time.
I mean, I went inside and went on about my day.
The reason why Buck doesn't call something in and say there's something suspicious, it's just the tone and tenor of the neighborhood.
And that's all I know.
Well, at some point I may need you to look at a lineup.
All right.
Buck tells Sergeant Williams he's confident that if he saw photographs of these guys later, he'd be able to pick them out of a lineup. After the interview with Buck, Sergeant Williams felt one step closer to piecing together this mystery.
He was now looking for two suspects in a red-colored vehicle.
Then out of the blue, he received a call from a vice and narcotics sergeant out of his office.
They had a CI, which is a confidential informant, that claimed to know all about the murders. In probably 9 out of 10 cases that we actually worked, we did it with the help of a CI getting information to help solve that case.
In this instance, Detective Williams was excited.
He raced to meet the CI.
So what do you know?
My boy told me the story.
The CI talked to a friend of his and his friend told him that someone told him who killed Jerry and Willie.
They give you any names?
Uh-huh. The CI goes to say that the two guys responsible for the murder go by the names of Dude and Psych. And Psych is short for Psycho.
So what do you know about the murders?
That it wasn't supposed to go down.
The CI says that all this started over a robbery, and then it morphed into what it became, a double homicide. This makes sense because initially at the Jerry Crawford crime scene, inside of his home, there's ransacking. I mean, there's clear evidence of robbery. So I think this CI is verifiable.
Anything else?
I have a phone number.
The CI has a number for Psych.
Can you call him now?
Yeah.
This moment that Sergeant Williams is experiencing is the moment that all homicide detectives wait for.
Hello?
Rifle.
Sergeant Williams is chasing down two suspects in a brutal kidnapping turned homicide in Jefferson County, Alabama.
So what do you know?
My boy told me the story.
He's just received word a confidential informant may have crucial information in this case.
He give you any names?
Uh-huh.
He goes on to identify the two individuals by their nicknames and told them it was Dude and Psych.
The informant has a phone number for the suspect named Psycho.
Can you call him now?
This is incredible. This is what Sergeant Williams needs right now.
Hello?
Somebody else answered the phone. It was not Psych.
Let me talk to Psych.
Who?
Psycho?
Are you serious? Wrong number.
I'll try to get a good number.
We were hoping that Psycho or Psych would answer the phone, but it was a little disappointing that he didn't.
Hey, I appreciate you coming in, thanks.
It was a pretty exciting day when we got this far along to get the nicknames, and now we realize we're on to something.
Having nicknames is still good because Sergeant Williams can go back to the computer and see if there's ever been an arrest with someone had a moniker names like Dude or Psycho. So he may hit pay dirt on this.
God.
He identifies Psych as 37-year-old Harold Brownlee Jr.
He had been to prison. Other departments had arrested him for murder charges, some he beat. So he had a violent history. He had a violent past.
So it's no surprise that Harold Brownlee Jr.'s nickname is Psycho or Psych. It fits.
Let's see about this other guy, Dude.
And he identifies Dude as 21-year-old LaJonas Powell.
I got you.
LaJonas Powell has a relatively minor criminal history. So now he's got to consider, of the two suspects he's now identified, who is likely the shooter. Sergeant Williams is probably leaning more towards Harold Brownlee Jr. as the shooter rather than...
And they agreed to meet.
I heard you know Psych.
Yeah. We tight.
Well, Frail and Psych or Harold were buddies, that they had been partners in crime. They had done time in jail together.
Oh, he's involved in the case I'm working.
We talked to him in a certain way, like, hey, we know that you know about this.
I need the truth.
He's got to decide whether or not he's going to lie about it and get involved in something that he wasn't involved in, or just go ahead and get it off his back.
All right, look, man. He came to my crib.
When?
After the murders.
1:30 sometime in the afternoon, Harold shows up at his apartment.
Frail goes on to say that Psych says, hey, I'm just stopping by to holler at you real quick. You're not going to see me for a while. And what that means is he's going on the run.
Why was he trying to leave town?
Because he did something bad.
Psych goes on to say, I did something to Willie and Jerry. Did something, that only means exactly what happened. He killed two people. And he had to make that disclosure to someone. His friend named Frail was the one he dropped it on.
It's like a washing of the sin, so to speak, to someone they trust. He just put all that weight on Frail, and Frail just passed it on to Sergeant Williams.
Jefferson County Homicide Sergeant Curtis Williams has just identified his 2 suspects in a double homicide.
37-year-old Harold Brownlee Jr., a.k.a. Psych, and 21-year-old LeJonas Powell, a.k.a. Dude.
Oh, he's involved in the case I'm working. I need the truth.
The next witness that comes forward is a guy named Frail, and he gives information that he's actually is friends with this guy named Psych.
He came to my crib.
When?
After the murders.
He actually had the goods.
I mean, look, he didn't go into details, just said that he was the one that killed Jerry and Willie.
That's a third-party confession. That's golden. We've had so many cases where we have had someone hear the killer speak those words. This is what I did. That goes in the report, and a jury gets to hear that.
What else?
He said something about they were driving Dude's car.
Harold did tell him that they used LeJonas Powell's car, which was a burgundy Buick Roadmaster.
You sure about the color?
Yeah.
And that totally lines up with Buck's statement. Frail is just not your average witness. This guy is phenomenal. He is knocking it out the box. He has put this case in line for warrant time.
What did it say about Dude?
Young boy punked out.
Harold says when Willie started to run, Dude choked, and he didn't shoot Willie. He just let him run off. And so Harold was telling Frail, I had to do them both myself, because Dude choked on me.
Look, man, I ain't seen or heard from him since that day.
I believe Frail was being truthful.
Anyone look familiar?
We showed Frail some photo lineups, and he picks them out as the people he knows, as Harold Brownlee, as the person who came to his house and told him he just killed Jerry and Willie.
That's Psych right there.
What about this set?
And he picked LeJonas Powell out as the person that Harold told him was with him, and they used his car to do this.
That's Dude.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
This is the piece of the puzzle. When you step back, now you can see it's a sailboat on the ocean. That's exactly where Sergeant Williams is at this point. He knows this case is going to be closed soon.
After the bombshell interview with Frail, Sergeant Williams circled back with his eyewitness, Buck.
He showed him a photo lineup of the 2 suspects. Buck positively ID'd LeJonas Powell.
But he didn't pick out Harold Brownlee.
Sergeant Williams felt that Buck was maybe too scared to pick out Brownlee.
Because of his reputation, but that happens.
At this point, he had everything he needed to charge both men with murder.
Searches for Harold Brownlee were unsuccessful.
But a tip came in that LeJonas Powell was hiding out at his mother's.
Deputies went to the location and arrested Powell without incident. He was brought back to the office where Sergeant Williams hoped he could convince Powell to talk to him.
Why do you think we came and kicked your door open tonight and drug you down here? About the murder having Saturday, I want you to tell me what you know about it. The truth. I'm going to tell you everything.
He just agreed to speak to Sergeant Williams without an attorney, and it's about to get good.
I'm in our room sleep. My mama said it was about 6:30. My mama come out there and wake me up. She like, dude, somebody wants you on the phone.
He says, yes, I got a call from Harold, and he goes through this story about how Harold wanted to use his car.
He borrowed your car at 8:45 and dropped you off at 8:45. Guess what? 3 hours later, he picked you up. Guess what?
And so that took him away from the murder altogether. And when Harold returned with his car, that was the end of it. They went back to LeJonas' mother's house.
At the house, LeJonas says Brownlee surprised him.
He was like, Paul Trump. When I Paul Trump, he put a right about here, the forward stop on. I like, man, what the f*** you got this gun in my trunk for? He was like, oh, man, look, I killed somebody today. This and I'm like, man, hold on. Before you even go there, I don't want nothing to do with it.
Powell's story rinses himself out of the murder completely. Sergeant Williams isn't buying this. It doesn't make sense. Because he knows, according to witness statements, something else happened, and LeJonas was there when it happened.
Listen, let me ask you a question. Have you told us the complete truth? Sir, I told y'all everything I know, sir. I swear to God.
Curtis goes into full drill instructor.
Listen, because it's time out for talk. You done talked enough, right?
He turns up the knob and he goes straight base on LeJonas Powell.
I want you to understand, I don't believe you shot anybody. In fact, I know you didn't shoot nobody. But you yourself. I'm gonna tell you the truth, the guy untrue, sir.
He's about to give the...
Why do you think we came and kicked your door open tonight and drug you down here?
Sergeant Curtis Williams has just arrested LeJonas Powell, one of the suspects in the double murder case he's working.
I'm gonna tell you everything.
This kid here, he can open the books up and bring this case in with this very interview.
I know what the you got the gun in my trunk for.
Powell claims he wasn't involved at all, that Harold Brownlee is the lone killer.
You like, oh man, look, I killed somebody there.
Sergeant Williams is going, that's not consistent. That doesn't match up with the evidence.
I want you to understand, I don't believe you shot anybody. But you yourself.
He's not leaving that room until he gets everything he needs from LeJonas Powell.
Powell suddenly changes his story.
Dude put a gun on me. He was like, ride with me, so I ride with him.
He admits to Harold coming back with his car, and he starts driving. Harold tells him where to go, and then Harold says, stop and open the trunk. And there's two guys in the trunk of the car.
So I saw this guy in the trunk. Yes, sir. He had that dude and another guy in the trunk.
He had no idea these guys were in there because Harold had already kidnapped him by himself.
So it's truly what we call a self-serving statement. He's there because Psycho ordered him at gunpoint to participate.
He been out there walk over where? He was like a little day in the house.
And he says Harold killed these two guys and threatened him with a gun.
He told he gonna kill me and he gonna kill my mama if I ever see his son.
Powell's story still doesn't add up.
He was getting closer. That was the second version.
Now are you telling me the truth? The guy untrue, sir.
Sergeant Williams ain't new to this thing. He knows this is all some BS.
Oh, that's fine. That's gonna be your story. Let's stick with that, okay? But listen, I hate being lied to with a passion. With a passion.
I knew he was at the house. I knew he was over there with a gun. So I give him an out by saying, if Harold is this bad dude, I can understand you being afraid of him.
He made me do it. Okay, how did he make you go with it? So I had a 38, he had that rifle.
LeJonas goes on to say that this guy named Psych had him shook that he thought he was going to lose his life. He felt like he had to participate.
What happened at the house? Tell me what happened at the house.
They went to Jerry's house to steal some money and dope from Jerry. And when they got there at the house, Harold made him assist him.
Harold Brownlee Jr. announces a robbery. I mean, he's robbing Jerry Crawford, and he said he wants the money and dope.
He says that Harold taped up Jerry. But LeJonas was the person who tied up Willie, according to him. And he said he did it loosely because he really didn't want to participate. And that could be true because Willie was able to break free. Harold beat on Jerry with the pistol, trying to make him give him the drugs and give him the money.
Jerry, like, I got 2 8-ball in my pocket, and I got this money. He like, take it. It's like, no, now I want everything.
But Brownlee wants more. He doesn't want just what was at the house. He wants him to take him to his plug. I mean, that's a big deal. You've created a whole nother can of worms now in this situation. You want to ride out to my drug supplier and conduct a second tier of this robbery. They take Jerry and Willie outside and force them into the trunk of the car.
So he goes on to say that Harold Brownlee drives Jerry Crawford and the other victim around, but Jerry Crawford would not take him to his plug. That's when Brownlee decides to kill both men.
He didn't want to leave any witnesses.
Jerry, he was like, man, it's like, come on, man, don't do this, man, don't do this. It's like I told you I wasn't gonna play with you. And he shot that dude.
Willie Turner sees what happens and takes off running, just like Sergeant Williams' theory from the beginning. Harold then turns the rifle towards Willie Turner and begins to shoot him as he's running in the middle of the street, and he drops. All of this evidence is matching up to the crime scene.
The interview that Curtis conducted is masterful, because for him to go in that room and get this confession from this young would-be killer, this is amazing.
Jonas Powell is arrested and charged with kidnapping, robbery, and murder of both victims.
Acting on a tip, they locate Harold Brownlee a few days later, and he's subsequently charged with capital murder. It's no surprise that Harold Brownlee refused to speak with detectives.
Howard Brownlee Jr. avoids trial by taking a plea deal. He pleads to 2 reduced charges of intentional murder and receives a life sentence with the possibility of parole.
The next month, LeJonas Powell also makes a deal with prosecutors. He pleads guilty to the lesser charge of felony murder. He receives 10 years in prison and 5 years probation. What you did here is phenomenal. You really pulled this thing off. And I was glad I had a chance to actually meet you.
Well, I appreciate that.
It's another contact wound.
When thinking about all the intricacies that happened,
What y'all have?
Missing persons case.
how Sergeant Williams put this case together.
My boy told me the story.
Like, I would love to be able to work a case with Sergeant Williams.
I heard you know sight.
He's a kindred spirit to guys like me and Vin.
Now are you telling me the truth? The guy untrue, sir.
That someone else out there cares to this degree about bringing home these types of cases.
I'm on my way.
And bringing some kind of satisfaction to the families left behind.
Curtis, it's been a pleasure to meet you, man, and congratulations on solving this case and your continued success.
I appreciate it, man. The pleasure's all mine.
C-Dub.
Enjoy.
Beautiful work, my brother.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's beautiful to hear that in rural Alabama, they're getting down just like they do in big city Atlanta.
See you in the morning. What are you doing here?
On March 17, 2010, we get a call at the homicide office that there's been a detective from New York City trying to get in touch with us to help him with a case.
It's not totally uncommon for us to speak with other detectives from other agencies and other jurisdictions, whether it's somewhere else in Georgia or other parts of the country.
At this point, our interest is piqued, so we head back to the office to reach out to this NYPD detective to see what's going on.
Hey, this is Detective Velasquez at Atlanta PD.
Hey, thanks for calling back.
He says his name is Detective Eddie Wilkowski with NYPD Homicide.
I've left messages with different detectives in your office, but you're the first to call back.
Hey, today's your lucky day, brother. How can we help you?
I got an open homicide from 2000.
But Detective Wilkowski goes on to say his murder occurred in Queens, New York.
The victim was 23-year-old Tennille Kitt. The body was found in her home. The place had been torched.
They found Tennille on her back on the living room floor, naked, face covered. A lot of times the murderers cover the victim's face because they know the victim.
All right, what's the cause of death?
Strangulation. We believe the fire was set to destroy evidence. This case has become an obsession for me.
Hey, you're our kind of cop, man.
Every detective in homicide has that case that you just can't let go. We felt that passion coming out of that speaker box. We wanted in. We wanted to help this brother.
So what's the Atlanta connection?
The guy, his name is Lee Hines, goes by Nitty. Neil had issues with him.
He was pursuing her, and he got to be where he was becoming a problem, where she really couldn't get rid of him.
I believe in my heart that Nitty killed her.
Believing it and being able to prove it and have enough for probable cause are two different things, and we were not there.
So is Lee Hines in Atlanta?
I don't know, but I think he dropped the body down there.
Detective Wilkowski's developed witnesses that says Lee Hines actually killed somebody in Atlanta.
Her name is Prichard Gaines. Supposedly, it's an unsolved homicide from 2003.
Never heard that name in my entire life. It's not on our board. It's not on our unsolved list.
That doesn't sound familiar.
Look, my case is going nowhere.
What I hear in Eddie's voice is that this Lee Hines character is so dangerous that it doesn't matter what case gets solved, that we got to get this guy off the street before he kills more women.
All right, we'll do some digging and circle back.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Let's see what's up.
We're excited because it's all about going back to the cold case room, blowing the dust off a box and trying to figure out how we can help this brother out.
Like looking for buried treasure.
Yeah.
When Eddie gives us this name of our victim, Prichard Gaines, we don't even know if that's a real name, a real victim. We got to look if this case even exists.
Here we go. Gaines, Prichard.
We discovered this case file, and we really do have a legitimate victim, Prichard Gaines.
Yo, she was 23 years old at the time of the murder, man.
She had 2 children, and she lived in the 04th Ward neighborhood.
Okay, so it looks like it all started February 26, 2003.
Hello? Charity's daughter calls her grandmother and says Mom is missing.
All right, her grandmother, Bernice, lives in the same building. Went to check out the apartment. No sign of the charity, no sign of the purse, no sign of the car or the boyfriend.
Let me guess. Lee Hines.
Right. But Grandma only knows this guy as Nitty.
What we understand was Nitty was the last person known to be with Prichard.
All right, so Bernice doesn't know much about Nitty. She says that her daughter only dated him for a short time.
But what made grandmother know right away that this was foul play?
Mother's intuition.
According to Charity's mother, Charity would never leave her kids, ever be absent from the family home.
There's also the fact that all of Nitty's stuff was gone, and a chunk of cash.
She says her daughter, Prichard, had just received her tax return for $2,000. There's a lot of motive right now for a missing person with a car, purse, money, and a victim that's having a strained relationship with somebody who cleared out all of their clothes from the same apartment that they shared.
So Bernice calls her brother into town to help out with the search.
Hello? She's calling in family reinforcements. She wants her daughter found. And immediately, he smells a foul odor. And he's thinking it's trash, so he goes directly to where the trash is, and that's not the issue. He goes to the pantry next to the kitchen, and that's when he finds Charity wrapped up in a carpet. Dead.
Oh. That's terrible.
Yeah.
The horror of seeing that, and then having to tell his sister, the victim's mother, what he found.
Okay, so what did it say was the cause of death?
She was killed with a knife.
He died from one single stab wound to the back.
Stabbed in the back?
If Nitty indeed is our suspect, and we know they already have a strained relationship, more than likely, our victim is trying to run away.
Suspect kills her, starts doing the cleanup.
We know, working homicide now for 10 years, when you conceal a body, that means you're connected to that victim. You want time, you want space, you want distance. You need a head start. Most people that just kill people for a simple robbery, stranger on stranger, they're not hiding their bodies.
Who caught the case?
James Carr. Detective Carr interviews some family, interviews some friends. They all point their finger to Nitty, and Carr jumps out there, makes an arrest.
What do you have on Nitty?
Not enough, apparently.
We're like, wait a minute, full stop. Where is the probable cause? We couldn't believe that a judge even signed that warrant. We were completely floored.
And Prichard's case is listed as closed by arrest.
All right, so it says he was arrested on July 23rd, 2003, but he was never indicted and he was released.
That means that was a get-out-of-jail-free card, literally. And he went back to New York, which was totally within his rights.
He never went to a grand jury.
This case was never formally charged. This case never made it out of municipal court in 2003. So although our records show this is a closed by arrest case, this case is wide open.
So it says here that Card retired soon after.
And the case went into limbo.
Right.
So as people transition in and out of the homicide office, new detectives, old detectives, this case is not on anybody's radar.
I think Carr had the right guy. He just didn't build enough to get a real prosecution. Let's rehab this thing.
This is an open case hiding in plain sight in the closed case files.
Yo, if Lee Hines is our killer, he's linked to 2 open murders.
There was no way we're gonna let him get away twice.
Hey, Eddie.
We'll do whatever it takes to bring this case back to life.
We're on the case. Talk soon.
To solve this case, we'll need to follow a trail littered with violence.
This was worse than we had imagined.
All right, what's the game plan?
I'll take the lead.
Got it.
We're taking this case from ATL up to NYC.
He said he killed her.
What?
This guy used fear as a weapon.
As we close in on the killer,
Somebody want to talk to you.
the real games begin.
Jason's dead.
This has got to be one of the most manipulative, narcissistic killers we have ever encountered.
So Lee Hines, AKA Nitty, receives a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Yo, if Lee Hines is our killer, he's linked to 2 open murders.
We gotta break out the defibrillator and bring this case back to light.
We start by re-interviewing a woman named Michaela Ross.
Thank you for your time.
I help however I can.
She was her best friend, and she wanted justice.
What can you tell us about LaCharity's boyfriend?
Nitty. She wanted him out, but he wouldn't leave.
And we're talking about somebody that started a relationship 2 months in, and now he's dropped anchor, he ain't going nowhere. That's a problem.
She was scared of him.
Yeah, why was she scared of him?
He threatened to kill her.
Wait, she told you this?
Yes.
For Michaela, in 2003, the red flags were flapping all over the place.
So when was the last time you saw LaCharity?
The day before she disappeared, she got her tax money and bought some real nice Burberry shoes.
She was so proud of these shoes that literally she called Michaela up and said, you gotta come over here. You gotta see these shoes I bought.
The night before, she called me whispering, he wouldn't leave, he wouldn't leave.
She could hear the fear in LaCharity's voice. And then she says, I gotta go, and hangs up.
Then I called her back, she didn't answer.
And we already know that night, LaCharity was killed.
You should call my mom Grace.
Your mom? Why?
Because she stayed underneath LaCharity. Said she heard some things.
We gotta go talk to her because we got no actual written statement from anyone named Grace about anything involving the killing of LaCharity Gang.
After we finish with Michaela, we shoot straight out to see Grace Ross, her mother. We gotta figure out what she remembers.
Hi, I'm Detective Velasquez. This is my partner, Detective Quinn.
My daughter said you were coming by.
Grace vividly remembers the night LaCharity disappeared.
It was yelling, banging.
Why are you still here? I told you it was over already.
All the signs of a struggle, all the signs of some type of altercation happening.
What time was this?
Around midnight.
You need to get out. Get out.
She hears her phone ring. She sees on the caller ID that it's actually LaCharity.
I didn't answer. I don't know why.
Did you keep hearing the noise after that?
I heard a scream.
She heard a loud scream coming from LaCharity's apartment, but then it got really quiet. She thought it, whatever the situation, had worked itself out upstairs.
I went to sleep, didn't think nothing else about it until she turned up missing, then dead.
Here's my card. If you think of anything else, don't hesitate, give us a call.
Grace just confirmed that there was a fight and a struggle. At this point, we feel that Lee Hines, AKA Nitty, is our killer, but we still gotta be able to prove it. So far, we're not much closer than the original detective.
All we have is our intuition and a few old statements. So we go ahead and submit a request for all the evidence in this case. Evidence recovered at the scene, evidence collected at autopsy, everything.
So we figured the best strategy to build a case against Lee Hines is to examine his other relationships. It seems highly likely that his violent behavior wasn't limited to LaCharity Gaines and possibly Tennille Kidd.
We reached out to Detective Eddie Wilkowski for names.
He provided contact information for a woman named Jackie Griffin who Nitty dated after Tennille's death. So that's someone we definitely wanted to talk to. After getting this information from Detective Wilkowski, I find that Jackie Griffin is living in South Carolina. We find a number for her. I give her a call.
Hello?
Hi, Miss Griffin.
Yes?
This is Vince Velasquez. I'd like to ask you a few questions about a guy that goes by Nitty. You know who that is?
Yes. We met in New York and dated on and off for years.
She was having the same issues that our victim, LaCharity Gaines, was. He's giving her everything she wants, and suddenly this relationship sours. She starts to tell her friends, I don't know about this guy.
When y'all were together, has he ever physically assaulted you?
He might slap me here and there, and I didn't report it. I broke up with him, and things got ugly.
She goes on to say that her house in Queens was burned to the ground, and she always suspected Nitty did it because this was right after their breakup.
I decided to move to Virginia, and he found me.
Out of nowhere, Nitty pops back up in her life, and he's coming bearing gifts.
He had this gold chain, it was a thin chain with some little gold balls around, and a pair of Burberry shoes that he had given me.
I had looked at my partner, wait a minute.
The day before she disappeared, she bought some real nice Burberry shoes.
When was this?
2003, maybe March.
We're thinking, did Nitty take these shoes after killing our victim, drive to Virginia, and gifts her this dead woman's shoes?
So let me ask you, what size shoe do you wear?
I wear 8.5 in the women's.
And what were those size, do you remember?
They were 8.5 because they fit perfectly.
You still have those shoes?
I got rid of them years ago.
Now, did you two move back to New York?
No, we went to South Carolina, and that's when it happened.
The relationship, right on point, takes a dramatic turn in the bad direction.
We were living in a motel.
I don't even understand why we're here. I told you a million times that I wanted to go back to New York.
We get into this huge argument.
Stop! What'd you say? Stop!
You ain't going nowhere.
And all of a sudden he stops.
You ain't going nowhere.
He pours an accelerant on the bed that she's laying on and tries to light her on fire. For some reason, by the grace of God, the accelerant that he used didn't ignite.
I've never been so terrified.
Lee Hines is then arrested for the assault on Jackie Griffin in South Carolina.
Did you press charges?
No, I couldn't do it.
We have seen women time and time again get abused, and they just fall under this spell, this control of their abuser.
I just wanted him out of my life.
In fact, it worked. She was able to get away from Lee Hines. She moved and got on with her life.
All right, thank you for your time.
Sure.
Bye.
Victim number 3, the lucky one.
Yo, we just scratching the surface here.
We're asking ourselves, how many women has this guy really hurt?
The investigation is about to take us on a road trip. There may be other victims out there.
We could not let him get away.
Whatever I can do to get justice for my daughter.
LaCharity's mom was on board 1,000%. It's almost as if she had been waiting for this day for the past 7 years for somebody to tell her, we haven't given up.
What can you tell us about the man she was dating?
It was good at first, but after he moved in, she saw a side of him she didn't like.
Everything just started taking such a violent turn just by the aura of this guy being there.
So she told him to move out. And then she and I spent the day together. When she got home that night, she called and said that he was still there.
What are you doing here?
He's still there, and she was really nervous, and she didn't know what to do.
The next morning is when I learned that she was gone missing. Y'all know the rest of the story.
So the shoes pique our interest.
Your daughter had some shoes that were missing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, describe the shoes. She describes them as these Burberry wedges, size 8.5. We're thinking back to Jackie Griffin, who received a pair of 8.5 size Burberry wedge shoes.
They were 8.5 because they fit perfectly.
Did she also have a necklace that was missing?
Yes. The one I gave her on her birthday, it was gold with little gold balls on it.
Wow.
Again, we're back to Jackie Griffin describing this necklace given to her by Lee Hines.
She had this gold chain. It was a thin chain with some little gold balls around it.
We know for a fact that necklace is LaCharity Gaines.
Unreal, man. We're gonna do everything we can to find this guy, okay? Thank you, Mom.
Right now, everything we're looking at is lining up.
At this point, me and my partner have decided we've done everything we needed to do here in Atlanta. It was time to take this thing up to NYC. We hopped on a plane and went up to the Big Apple. We meet Detective Wachowski and head to Queens.
This is the last address I had for Hines. Lived here with a girl named Camira Betancourt.
All right, what's the game plan?
I'll take the lead.
Got it.
They came and hit the ground running. I was excited. I thought we were making headway.
Camira,
Yeah,
I have a few questions for you about Lee Hines. Nitty.
he don't live here, and I don't know where he is.
She says she ain't seen the brother, she don't know where he is, she put him out, lottie-dottie.
Eddie's doing the talking. We're watching. I'm trying to pick up on things that he may not be seeing. I see the tattoo.
She's got a fresh tattoo on her neck that reads Nitty, and I almost see the blood still dripping from the tattoo needle.
Come on, Camira. Just tell us where he is.
And I'm telling you, I haven't seen him in a while.
Sometimes it's just better just leave it alone. We'll live to fight another day.
We're from Atlanta, just in case you talk to Nitty.
This is an unwelcome four-story walk-up, so we go ahead and decide to leave a card with Miss Betancourt. If she hears anything about Nitty, to give us a call.
That didn't go so well.
That's all right. I got another girl we can try who lives in Far Rockaway.
Okay.
The girlfriend's name is Luisa Diaz. This is another girl that apparently Nitty has had a current relationship with. We're thinking maybe that's where Nitty is right now.
Hey, Louisa?
Louisa answers the door, and from an expressionless look to a scowl, immediately says, "What do you want?"
What the hell are you guys doing here? You need to get out of here now.
This sister Louisa lost her mind. She flipped and blew her wig.
Are you Pig Steph? You're not wanted here.
We're just...
Luisa Diaz went completely belligerent on us, screaming, cussing us out.
We just have a few questions.
I don't know nothing.
Her New York, Puerto Rican accent, and I know it because I'm Puerto Rican. I was born in the Bronx, and I've heard it a million times.
Okay, so tell us about Nitty and we'll
You didn't hear what I just said? I don't know who you're talking about.
We knew that was BS.
We knew for a fact she was down with Nitty. She was just creating some kind of a smokescreen.
She literally turns around, marches back inside, slams the door.
We are striking out today.
Here comes Luisa with a phone in her hand, walks right up to me and hands me the phone, says, "Here."
Somebody want to talk to you.
I grabbed the phone, put it to my ear. I'm like, who am I speaking with?
Hello?
Yo, it's Nitty.
Mira?
Yeah,
I have a few questions for you about Lee Hines. Nitty.
he don't live here, and I don't know where he is.
The cold case murder of LaCharity Gaines has taken us from Atlanta to New York City. We hook up with NYPD Detective Eddie Wilkowski to chase down Lee Hines.
Somebody want to talk to you.
While visiting one of Nitty's girlfriends, she hands me the phone.
Hello?
Yo, it's Nitty.
Totally shocked.
Why are you asking about it?
Nitty was curious. Why are we in town? A master manipulator, he's got to know what the script is. What am I dealing with?
All right, so check it out. I'm investigating the murder of LaCharity Gaines, the case you were arrested for back in '03.
So I go on and tell Nitty, I'm here because we want to ask you some questions. You're not under arrest. We don't have a warrant for you.
What do you think? Can we talk?
Sometimes these guys do want to speak to you because a guy like Nitty, he thinks he's smarter than everybody else.
Sure, but I need to run it by my attorney first.
All right, cool.
We wanted to make sure that we had FaceTime with Nitty. We didn't want to spook him.
All right, hit me back once you've spoken with your lawyer.
All right.
All right, cool. Thank you.
I'm playing it breaks off real easy with Nitty. We're going to do the soft approach and see if Nitty calls us back.
So we finish up with Louisa.
Where to next?
I got another girl.
It's looking up already.
And we head off to the next former girlfriend of Nitty, and it happens to be a girl by the name of Jasmine Smith.
We called Jasmine first and arranged a meeting.
We appreciate your time, Jasmine.
This sister jumps in the back seat of the car and she's looking around and peeking over her shoulders.
Nitty doesn't know I'm talking to you, right?
That's correct.
She indicated that she, although deathly afraid of Nitty, knew that he was a monster. She wanted him off the street just as badly as we did.
So, talk to us about Nitty.
We dated on and off for a couple of years.
When?
2008 to 2009. He moved into my place.
Lee Hines, his MO is basically convincing these women that he's the best thing that ever happened since they started slicing cheese. But what he really needs is money. He needs a place to stay. He needs sustenance, sex, control.
All right, so why are you so afraid of him?
He showed me some paperwork that said he was arrested for killing the girl in Atlanta.
She actually sees the arrest ticket. This is Nitty using this form of control and manipulation on women to instill fear in them.
I didn't want to be next.
Nitty is not just a killer, he's a serial abuser of women. And he uses fear and intimidation to keep him in his lair.
He's bragging about what he did without ever saying anything else. I got locked up for killing somebody. This is what could happen to you if you don't do what I tell you to do.
Did he tell you what happened to that woman?
He said he killed her.
What?
That's the best news we've had since we landed in New York City. That's a third-party confession.
Yeah, said he hid her in the closet or something. And nobody found her until she started stinking.
Did he say anything else to you?
He mentioned there were 2 kids in the home at the time.
He basically told a person who has absolutely nothing to do with this case details about a murder that only the killer would know.
He told me there were other victims as well. One in New York.
He said that he killed a girl in Jamaica Estates who broke his heart, and we believe that the girl he was speaking to her about was Tennille Kidd.
I'm just so happy to have gotten away from him.
This is great information. I mean, Jasmine Smith has given us the crown jewels of this investigation.
Are you willing to testify to everything that you've just said?
I don't know.
She's a little ambivalent. She's not really sure. I mean, her level of fear is far away and extreme.
We're trying to get all these details. My phone rings.
Excuse me, I have to take this.
I'm thinking maybe this is Nitty's lawyer calling me.
Detective Velasquez.
It's a woman who identifies herself as Pauline Clark, who tells me she's a reverend and Nitty's spiritual advisor.
Lee has asked for my help.
And I'm just taken aback, and I'm like, okay, here we have another woman calling me on behalf of Lee Hines. I mean, the madness never ends.
He's worried.
Well, just tell him we just want to talk to him, that's all.
So I give her a proposition. I say, you're more than welcome to do a 3-way call and stay on the call and listen.
That sounds fair. Let me try to get him on the line.
Okay, thanks. Sorry about that. How'd it go with Jasmine?
We gotta work on getting her to testify.
Yeah.
So was that Nitty's lawyer?
No, his spiritual advisor. She's facilitating a call with him right now.
Now we're going to get a second crack at him. This has been an amazing investigative field trip. I'm loving it.
Hold up. Here we go.
I got to get this thing memorialized. This may be the only opportunity ever to get this guy on tape.
Hello?
Detective, I have Lee Hines on the line.
Okay.
Hey.
This brother thinks he can outsmart us, but we're way smarter.
Did he tell you what happened to that woman?
He said he killed her.
The LaCharity Gaines murder investigation is wrapping up.
After speaking to several girlfriends, past and present, of Nitty, we are convinced that he's responsible for the death of LaCharity Gaines.
Lee has asked for my help.
A face-to-face meeting with him in New York was canceled.
Let me try to get him on the line.
Okay, thanks.
If she's willing to facilitate a call and I could lock Nitty in on some information on the phone and record it, I wasn't missing this opportunity. It wasn't 5 minutes.
Hold on.
Where she calls back.
All right, here we go.
Detective, I have Lee Hines on the line.
And she's got Lee Hines on a 3-way call with me.
Hey.
I can't wait to hear what else he has to say.
Okay, so the woman that was murdered in this particular investigation, her name was LaCharity Gaines. Do you know who that is?
No.
Okay, you never heard of LaCharity Gaines?
No.
That's the last thing I ever expected him to say.
Okay, weren't you two dating in Atlanta?
No. I was only in Atlanta with my old girlfriend, Jackie.
Let me ask you this. While you were there, how long were you there for?
It was like a couple of days because I was back in South Carolina. It had to be like 2000, 2001.
This joker says he hadn't been to Atlanta since 2001, but his get-out-of-jail-free card says you were there in 2003, fool.
I only went there because I was doing work with a rapper that go by $500,000.
He said that $500,000 was an up-and-coming rapper connected to Nas, the rapper that was very popular in the early 2000s. But what's interesting is we know our case was in 2003.
He's like my stepbrother. His name is $500,000. His real name is Jason. So Jason Warlow.
Okay. Have you ever been involved with a woman in the presence of her mother?
No, never.
I just heard Nitty, with a bucket of glue, paint himself into a corner.
All I need now is either a piece of forensic evidence to link him to our victim or an eyewitness to say that's him. And he is done.
So let me ask you a question. You were arrested for murdering a woman in Atlanta. Do you think they just picked your name out of the sky?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I can't speak for another person. I can speak for myself.
I'm getting no's on everything. I'm not pushing too hard. The only thing that Lee Hines admits to is that he goes by the name Nitty.
Pretty Nitty.
Pretty Nitty. Okay. Let me make sure I write that down. Pretty Nitty.
Yeah, Pretty Nitty.
Gotcha. All right, I think I'm done.
All right, thanks for your time.
That was a whole lot of lying.
And we got it all on tape, baby.
We've done everything we can do in New York at this point.
All right, let's roll.
It's time to go back to Atlanta. Our first order of business is to track down the rapper $500,000, who Nitty said he was with in Atlanta.
All right, so he said his name is Jason Wardlow.
$500,000 is a guy that Nitty admitted to me on the phone that he spent some time in 2000, 2001 managing him as a rapper. So if he's that close, he's probably got information that may help this case.
So Carr actually spoke with him in 2003. So we have a phone number. Give me a second.
Hello?
Hey, I'm trying to reach Jason.
Who's this?
How you doing? My name's Vince Velasquez, over in Atlanta Police.
The woman on the phone is Jason's wife, Wanda.
Hello?
Jason's dead.
Mill said that our victim was pleading with him to come and get Nitty out of her house.
Okay, so she wanted Jason to help her with Nitty?
Uh-huh. But he didn't want to get involved. Then after he heard that woman got killed, Jason talked to the detective and told him about the conversation.
I appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
Yo, this case goes in so many directions.
Right. We just need to stay the course on the charity.
100%.
We know that Nitty's responsible, but now we need the evidence to prove it.
All right, come on.
The original evidence from storage finally comes in.
Let's see what we got.
Well, me and Vince feel like we did the boots on the ground work. We've trampled all over Atlanta. We've been up in the Big Apple, grabbing evidence, feeling pretty good. It's time now to start going through the physical evidence.
It's like looking for a needle.
All right. Oh, here we go. Gaines of charity. Check this out.
We see where there was hair collected at autopsy in the hand of a victim, LaCharity Gaines.
All right, now wait a minute. So this was in her hand.
Right.
We know our victim is stabbed in the back. She's probably fighting. If this hair is the killer's hair, that confirms she is trying to get away from this guy.
Yo, look at this. This was never sent to the lab.
We know Detective Carr had been in homicide for many years. He's old school. A lot of those guys ain't really believe in the science. We embraced it.
Yo, Vinny, I'm telling you, if this belongs to Nitty, he's done.
That is huge. We're talking almost 8 years later. We got to get that stuff out to the GBI. It's forensic time. Let's get it done.
All right, let's send this over for testing right now.
If we get a profile and happens to be Nitty, that's the nail in the coffin.
Let me call our boy in New York.
Good call. It's like looking for a needle.
While re-examining the evidence collected in 2003 in the LaCharity Gaines homicide case, we realized that evidence was never tested.
If this belongs to Nitty, he's done.
This was a huge departmental oversight, but we're gonna let that stuff chill for now.
Let me call our boy in New York.
Our main concern is to get Nitty back down here in the South where he can be dealt with properly.
Yeah.
Hey, Eddie. Listen, we got some news. We're gonna send some evidence over for testing.
I've got news too. You're not gonna believe this. Nitty's locked up.
Vinny was arrested for being in possession of a gun on Mott Avenue, right near where he was living, and he went into Rikers Island.
At least he's off the street.
Amen.
I'm like, thank God. We got to get him. But I wasn't ready yet. I'm still waiting on forensic evidence.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere for a while.
That's good. Now we can take our time and make our case rock solid.
We got Nitty on ice, on a real charge, up in New York, where the gun laws are way different than they are down here in the dirty South. He's gonna be sitting for a minute, which gives us time.
All right, we'll talk soon, man. Thanks. Nice. Okay.
Let's take it to the lab.
It didn't work in 2003. We want to make sure that we get this thing right.
With Nitty safely behind bars, we slowly went to work on the forensics. Not only did we test the hairs from the autopsy, we also looked at items in LaCharity's car.
The car was found abandoned at a bus station in Charlotte, North Carolina, just 1 week after the murder. CSI found Nitty's palm print on a CD case inside the car.
In October 2013, 3 years after we started the case, we brought Lee Hines down to Atlanta and charged him with LaCharity's murder.
We tried to interview him, but he wouldn't talk.
And that's fine. We'll just let the science do the talking.
With Nitty in custody, we served a search warrant for DNA samples and hair for comparison.
Special delivery.
What's up?
DNA results on Nitty. But you gotta open it.
Okay. The hair in her hand, that autopsy belongs to Nitty.
That's what I'm talking about.
The DNA, 1,000% matches Lee Hines. That's his DNA.
See, that's that CSI stuff I'm talking about right there, baby.
She has basically a defensive posture holding the hair of her killer in her hand. It doesn't get any better than that.
We did it, brother.
We literally high-fived. We were like, it's done. This case is going to trial. Lee Hines is going to spend the rest of his life in prison.
All right, let me call Eddie.
Even though Lee Hines refused to speak to me and Ben, we're able to piece together the story of what happened that night.
I love you. We'll see you in the morning.
What we think is after LaCharity put the children to bed, she had already made outcries to several people.
He won't leave. I don't know what to do.
She wanted out of this relationship. So we know that everything came to a head that fateful night that she went missing.
Why are you still here? I told you it was already over.
That probably culminated into a conversation just trying to convince Lee Hines to leave. She probably felt that she could handle this. I own you. He is not a man that takes rejection. I think he felt at any point,
You need to get out.
she's probably gonna call the police. And he snapped. He picked up a knife. She saw it. That's the scream that her best friend's mother heard downstairs.
LaCharity Gaines takes that sharp force injury to the back, which ends her life. Mr. Hines then takes our victim, LaCharity Gaines, wraps her up in a carpet, hides her inside of a closet. This was awful. All evidence points that Lee Hines took the car, drove it up to Charlotte, parked it in close proximity to a bus station. We believe he got on the bus and got up out of the area. In November 2014, Lee Hines, AKA Nitty, goes to trial, gets found guilty, and gets sentenced to life in prison. The conviction is bittersweet news for Detective Wilkowski.
I believe that Nitty, Lee Hines, is the murderer of Tennille Kidd. It's just that we weren't able to establish enough evidence for the DAs to present a court case to go forward with it.
How can we help you?
I got an open homicide from 2000.
When I look back at this case, there's one person that we have to thank. Queens homicide detective Eddie Wilkowski, because he couldn't solve his case.
This case has become an obsession for me.
This case never left him.
I was proud to be your mother.
It's a tragedy of epic proportion. We're just glad we were able to hop in, assist, and bring this thing to... In Shreveport, Louisiana, a gruesome and perplexing mystery unfolds.
You got blood in the car, you got a missing person, but you got no body.
So what's the story?
A rookie detective takes on one of the most personal cases of his career.
What are those?
I know what it is, because I was in the Navy.
Get this thing tested.
A desperate search for answers.
No more games.
Everyone had a story to tell, but no one was telling the truth.
Leads to an unsettling revelation.
It's in the woods.
He's telling me where the body's dumped.
In a showdown with the prime suspect.
You can see the torment on his face.
Will the truth finally come to light?
I know you gotta be in knots, man, trying to sleep at night.
If they drop their head and break down in tears, oh, they're gonna give the full story.
We spent our careers solving Atlanta's most puzzling homicides.
But there are other investigators just like us.
With the passion and skills needed to solve the most unbelievably challenging murders.
These are their cases.
We're on Shirley Francis Road on the west side of Shreveport. This area is very rural. It just shows how diverse the landscape is here in Shreveport.
While you have the concrete jungle of the city, you also have this wooded area and swamps. It's the kind of place that's ripe to hide a murder.
Back in 2001, the Shreveport police are led to the hallowed ground back here to search for a dead body.
But like most body dump cases, this one started somewhere else, and in the most harmless of ways. It's November 27, 2001. Police are alerted about an abandoned vehicle.
When first responding officers arrive on scene, the vehicle is locked and secured, and quickly they notice there's blood on the inside of that vehicle. It's more than enough blood to justify calling it homicide, so that's exactly what first responding officers do. And the one assigned is none other than Rodney Demery.
I went to homicide 2001, so it was early in my homicide career. Working homicide for me was never about putting anyone in jail. It was getting answers. I want to know exactly what happened.
Detective Rod Demery, prior to ever becoming a police officer, he was a veteran, a Navy man.
I was a U.S. Navy Master at Arms. My service years were 1990 to 1994. I served in the Red Sea, Kuwait, just about anywhere in the Middle East where the war was concentrated.
Rod Demery was a cop on the water during the Navy, and then when he's back on shore in civilian life, he follows suit and becomes a cop on land.
So what's the story?
Apparently the business owner called in about a suspicious car in the parking lot.
The owner of the business saw the vehicle parked and became concerned. It seemed out of place, and as she looked into the vehicle, she saw blood.
Has anyone been inside?
No, we're waiting on you, sir.
The doors are locked, but you can see directly into the vehicle, and there's a lot of blood, so it wasn't exaggerated.
Pop the lock.
Once inside, the blood reveals a troubling story. It's highly unlikely that someone may live through that, much less walk away from that vehicle.
The blood's concentrated on the passenger side.
That's high velocity spatter.
High velocity blood spatter is a force from a firearm.
Whatever happened to the passenger.
It's without question that the victim was going to be sitting in the passenger seat, and possibly the assailant that wielded the gun was in the driver's seat.
And there was also blood smears. So the body was moved from the front seat of the vehicle.
Hey, Rod, how you doing? What we got?
The coroner arrived on scene, of course, did their analysis.
Ooh, that's not good.
And realized that there was brain matter inside the blood, and told us that whoever was there probably did not survive that gunshot to the head.
Detective Demery wants to know 100% whether this is a homicide case. So he brings in a cadaver dog to try to help him confirm if there was ever a dead body inside of this car.
Cadaver dogs are specially trained to detect the odor of a dead body. My immediate thought was there was a body in the trunk. You kind of mentally prepare yourself to discover this body in this trunk.
Pop the trunk.
Your heart is pounded. You don't know what you're gonna find. This is gonna change your day and possibly the lives of other people.
When the trunk does open, there's no body in the trunk. There is a Navy sea bag. Of course, I know what a Navy sea bag looks like because I was in the Navy. We opened the bag. Well, of course, there's Navy uniforms.
What are those?
These are Cracker Jack pants.
It's termed Cracker Jack because it looks like the Cracker Jack popcorn guy, you know, with the flap on the back, and trousers have 13 buttons in the front, and there's no mistaking a Navy uniform.
We've got blood.
As Detective Demery goes in closer, he notices these Cracker Jack pants have all indications of blood on them. That means there was some kind of transfer of blood.
Our victim was in the trunk.
The victim was put in the trunk of the car and transferred that blood onto those pants. The story is getting deeper.
He looks on the inside of the pants. He knows what he's gonna find because he wore those same pants.
Everything you own in the Navy is stenciled as your last name and first initial. The last name was Cox. The first initial was N.
What are you doing here, Mr. Cox?
At this point, Detective Demery knows there's nothing routine about this scene.
Whoever it was didn't live in Shreveport because there were no naval bases in Shreveport. Clearly it was somebody that was coming through, or maybe from here, but at this point we have no idea.
Run Cox through our system. First initial N.
Yes, sir.
Tell me if you find anything.
Will do.
The only thing I'm able to really surmise is that somebody was killed in that vehicle. Did the owner of the car kill someone? Someone killed the owner of the car.
It's got a dealer tag on it. It's not on the system. So right now, he's back where he was. All he has is a car backed in, some blood in it, but he still has to proceed.
The forensic team is going through the vehicle with a fine-tooth comb. We're searching for clues in whatever form they may come.
You find anything?
Nothing inside yet, but let me show you something.
I see there's some foliage or weeds in the bumper. And that's odd because it's in the middle of the city.
Got Nick good here.
One of the most obvious things about the vehicle is that there was scratches, fine scratches.
Whatever caused this was a very wooded area, and this car drove through it.
We're not going to find our victim anywhere around here.
Looking for a body in the woods or in a bayou is a needle in a haystack.
You gotta find your body before your case takes root. Right now, it's just twisting in the wind.
We got a hit. Nicholas Cox was reported missing a few days ago. He was last seen driving his new car.
Pop the trunk.
Shreveport homicide detective Rod Demery is investigating a strange case. The disappearance of Navy sailor Nicholas Cox.
We've got blood.
While police haven't found his body, all evidence points towards him being murdered.
You have the family's address?
Yeah, he's right here.
Detective Demery heads to meet with Nicholas's parents to break the unbearable news that their son's missing persons case is now turned into a homicide investigation.
Thank you for your time.
When you're in a situation like this, there's only like one way to do it, and it's just be blunt.
There was a lot of blood in your son's car. I can't say for certain that he's dead.
It was not a death notification until I had more information.
Is there anything you can tell me?
Rod has to establish some type of biography on this victim.
He was stationed in Norfolk, Virginia.
Nicholas's parents said he joined the Navy and was deployed after 9/11.
He had bought a car, and the plan was to drive it back to Norfolk.
I mean, it's critical right now to figure out exactly when Nicholas went missing.
He was supposed to call us when he arrived in Virginia. We never heard from him.
His father called his command and asked if he had made it back or checked in. They told him no. At that point, he called the police and reported him missing.
Did Nicholas have any issues while he was home?
I mean, there was a party.
Nick was rumored to have gotten into a fight at that party.
It was just something we heard.
Detective Demery learns from the family that the party was hosted by a woman named Tatiana Wright.
So Tatiana Wright became a person of interest that I needed to find out who she was and what this fight or alleged fight was all about.
Have a seat right here, please.
So Rod gets Tatiana right down to the homicide office.
Why am I here?
I heard Nicholas Cox was at your party.
She tells us she does know Nicholas Cox, but she has no clue about a fight or a party. She started to do these weird things with her hands, like shake and rock back and forth.
It's bright in here. Can we turn out the lights?
Turn out the lights.
Yeah.
It was all just bizarre. Honestly, I just thought she was crazy. I mean, it made no sense.
All right, back to Nicholas.
Right, I saw him.
She gives him a little nibble. She says that Nicholas came by to hang out with her brother, Alan James.
Nick and Alan go way back.
Alan James and victim Nicholas Cox were like thick as thieves. They grew up together. They went to high school together. They were best friends, and they even joined the Navy together.
My brother was stationed in San Diego.
Your brother, is he still in the Navy?
No.
Alan was kicked out of the Navy for smoking marijuana.
How long did Nicholas hang out with you and your brother?
I can't remember exactly.
She was all over the place with how and when was the last time she saw Nicholas.
I just know my brother saw him last.
She said that Nicholas and her brother left together, and she hadn't seen Nicholas since.
Right now, Alan James is going to know exactly what happened to this victim or the last time he saw him, which may be the most important key here.
I need to speak with your brother.
I don't know how to get in touch with him.
Tatiana, she just seemed to be just completely untruthful.
In this business, it's really tough as a detective to let these witnesses you know that are holding back go. It's a catch and release type of play.
You can go. For now.
At this point, I'm just suspicious of her. I don't know what she's hiding, but in a homicide investigation, man, everybody's a suspect.
We met with Detective Rod Demery to learn about his next move in the investigation. What sister doesn't have her brother's phone number? I mean, come on, this is be real here.
You know, the frustration is, you guys know the frustration when somebody's lying to you.
Typically, when people are lying, they're lying because they're protecting either one or two people, themselves or somebody close to them.
Exactly right. Well, you know, she knows something. So I guess our next step is getting a search warrant. We know that Nicholas was at her house at some point, and possibly whoever killed Nicholas was there as well.
What's this?
It's a search warrant. If I find anything, you can be charged as an accessory.
Sometimes you have to turn the heat up a little bit and let them know that they themselves are subject to the investigation and prosecution. We're winding down. There's nothing that jumps out.
All right, let's roll.
I told you, there's nothing here.
For whatever reason, at that moment, I just looked at the phone and thought there's gonna be something on this phone. It's like this, I don't know, it's this feeling that you get that it's almost like a hunch or an instinct.
What are you doing?
And I thought, I want to look at the caller ID.
619.
I see the 619 area code. I know that's San Diego, California. I was stationed in San Diego, California. So now my thought is who's she talking to?
What do you know in San Diego?
You can almost see the nervousness, the guilt, the oh my God, moment on their face.
A friend.
I think the number belongs to your brother.
Even though I didn't have Alan's name popping up on the caller ID, I knew it was him.
It's not my brother.
Alan's nowhere to be found in Shreveport, Louisiana, so Rod Demery at this point realizes that Alan James has fled Shreveport and is probably located in San Diego.
So you're telling me you haven't spoken to Alan?
No.
She knows a lot more than she's saying, and there was evidence that she was lying. It's time to bring her in.
You're coming with me to the station. Let's go.
There ain't no more playing around. It's time for Tatiana to give up some answers.
Real celebrities, true crime. We give you the stories behind the headlines.
We tell you what happened to them.
It's a search warrant.
Detective Rodney Demery may have just caught a break in the murder investigation of Navy sailor Nicholas Cox.
What do you know in San Diego?
A number found on Tatiana's phone leads Detective Demery to believe that Alan James, a possible suspect in the case, may have fled to San Diego, California.
So you're telling me you haven't spoken to Alan?
No.
I thought she was flat out lying about her brother's whereabouts and contact with him.
You're coming with me to the station. Let's go.
One way or another, Rod is going to get this woman to start telling the truth.
I know you're talking to your brother. So let's not waste my time today.
Okay. I spoke with Alan.
Tatiana explained that she was talking to her brother, and he was in San Diego.
When did he leave for California?
Right after he saw Nick.
Tatiana said that Nicholas came to get Alan. They went out for a ride or whatever.
Alan was actually driving Nicholas's car, and then a time later, Alan shows back up, still driving Nicholas's car, but no Nicholas.
Now, this has even gotten more suspicious.
But he didn't tell me anything, I swear.
What Tatiana has is damning information against her brother, but she may not know exactly what happened.
You got to give me something.
Talk to our friend Ryan Porter. He spoke with Alan before he left.
Well, Tatiana didn't seem to be completely honest with Rod. She mentioned that a guy named Ryan Porter may have some information on the case.
This guy was a close high school friend with Alan and Nicholas.
Rod wondered what Tatiana's motivation was for pointing the finger at Ryan.
Was he involved in the actual crime? Or was this just something to throw Rod off the trail from her brother?
Either way, Rod needed to speak to Ryan and see if he knew what happened to Nicholas Cox.
I had Ryan Porter brought to my office.
I want to talk to you about Nicholas Cox.
I don't have anything to say.
Ryan is very guarded and had an attitude.
Can't make me talk to you, bro.
He was just defiant, almost. I know the difference between someone who's an actual tough guy, and he was clearly pretending to be a tough guy.
So, are we done here?
You gotta let them know who their daddy is in this room.
Who do you think you're talking to?
You gotta manhandle him without touching him.
You want to get locked up?
They usually, as he did, just sort of back down and realize the reality or the gravity of the situation.
I'm sorry.
Start over.
I asked him if he knew anything about Nicholas's disappearance.
Nicholas came over to Tatiana's house and he and Alan left together. I never seen Nicholas again.
What about Alan?
Came by later and asked me for a ride.
The next huge nugget that Ryan drops on Detective Rod Demery is Alan's got blood on his clothes. He's alone, and he needs a lift to the bus depot. This brother's trying to get out of town. That's a guilt-laden fact.
He told me that he took Alan to the bus stop. So Alan was to take a bus from Shreveport to San Diego.
Was it Nicholas's blood?
I don't know.
You didn't ask?
Ryan knew that Alan was involved in some sort of crime.
Well, that's all I need to know.
When he told me that he took him to the bus station to get him out of town, clearly he's an accessory after the fact.
Let's go.
To where?
To jail.
At that point, I told him he was going to be placed under arrest for obstruction of justice.
Everything right now is adding up to Alan James being the murderer of Nicholas Cox.
Shortly after Ryan is taken to booking, the case takes a strange turn.
Demery.
I get a phone call from the jail saying that Ryan had a gun tucked away in the inside pocket of his jacket.
Unbelievable.
It's a human business. Even cops make a mistake. That could potentially be a fatal mistake when you miss a firearm.
I had two problems. One was that patrol brought him in my office with a pistol without patting him down, so I was pretty pissed off. Knowing that he had a loaded pistol on his person, I realized that Ryan could have shot me, but that's a fleeting thought. The prevailing thought was, this guy got a gun, is that the murder weapon?
What about Alan?
The Nicholas Cox homicide investigation is starting to gain traction.
Why was he going out of town?
Something bad happened?
Detective Demery learns that a man named Ryan Porter helped suspect Alan James flee town.
Let's go.
To where?
To jail.
While Ryan's being booked on obstruction charges, police find a handgun in his pocket.
Unbelievable.
Rod's wondering if this gun is the murder weapon and if Porter is the actual killer.
I'm on my way.
Rod needs some answers ASAP.
This is it.
The weapon that Ryan had was a .22 caliber pistol.
That's a small arm, small caliber weapon. That's probably not going to create the ruckus that happened inside of that Crown Victoria on that fateful day.
Get this thing tested.
Yes, sir.
It was time to turn the volume all the way up on Ryan Porter.
You're more hot water now.
Ryan's facing a concealed carry charge, and he's also facing a charge of carrying or introducing contraband into a correctional facility.
You gotta come clean.
And at that point, Ryan Porter changes his tune.
The gun is mine, but it's not part of any murder. When Alan came to my house that night, he was freaking out really bad.
He told me, in a nutshell, that Alan told him that Nicholas was shot. He was careful not to say that he shot Nicholas, but he disposed of Nicholas's body.
That's putting Alan James not just at the suspect level, he's number one.
That's all I know.
You think Tatiana knows more?
Probably.
At this point, I realized there's nothing more that he can tell me, and I think he's told me all that he knows.
Rod appeared to be getting closer to the truth, but he knew it was nearly impossible to get the DA's office to prosecute this case without a body.
There's an old saying, no body, no case. Rod decided to take another run at Tatiana for more answers.
He believed she was still holding back, and without her help in locating Nicholas's body, the whole case might be shot.
Rod contacted Tatiana, and she agreed to come in for round number 3.
No more games. You want to go to jail or you want to go home?
My aim at that point is to get her to give me everything that she's got, or she's gonna go to jail as well.
What do you want to know?
I tell her bluntly, I want to know where Nicholas's body is.
I want to bring Nick home.
I really don't know where his body is, but I'll ask my brother.
She agreed to make a controlled phone call to Alan and find out where this body was.
He's using Tatiana as a de facto detective, coaching her on what to say to Alan, and he's recording the call.
She tells Alan that the police are investigating the disappearance of Nicholas.
How did Nicholas die?
Some dude shot him.
Alan explained to Tatiana that he and Nicholas got into a shootout with some people and Nicholas was shot and killed. Not a likely story. At least I know now that he has knowledge of Nicholas being shot and killed. And he has knowledge that it was a gunshot. That's really important. And she asked Alan, where's the body?
Come on, Alan, just tell me.
This is the moment of truth. It's all riding on this conversation right now. You don't know what's going to come out of his mouth. He's talking to his sister in what he believes is a private phone call. The tension is overwhelming.
It's in the woods off Shirley Francis Road.
Shirley Francis is West Sub Shreveport. There's still a little population out there, but it's desolate enough that you would never go out there.
You go about 100 feet.
He's given her pinpoint instructions on how to locate Nicholas's body in the woods. Then Alan says something that lets Rod Demery know that these directions are legit.
If you're not careful, you're going to scratch your car.
That was very significant in that we found scratches on the car. So we know this is true. I figured that we probably got all that we're going to get from Alan, and I was actually really anxious. Let's go see if we can find the body.
Rod assembles his team together, and they go out to that spot to find this last resting place of young Nicholas Cox.
Let's bring Nicholas home.
It's a heavily wooded area. We kind of team up and start looking systematically through the crime scene.
Rod Demery and his team are there for hours, searching inch by inch. And at this point, they're coming up empty.
You see anything?
We are all pretty frustrated because we walked around this area and no one's found anything. We don't know if we're gonna find a body.
Hey.
The doubt that Rod is feeling is suddenly erased.
I've got something.
One of the investigators said, "Is that an arm?" We see the arm that's an obvious human arm sticking from under brush that's been used to cover a very shallow grave.
Who found her?
I knew it was Nicholas Cox. There was never a question in my mind. I knew the case was closed at this point. I knew he had been murdered. I knew that Alan had killed him.
You ready for a trip?
Where?
Arrest Alan James.
Finding him in San Diego, California, and interviewing him on the spot is invaluable. So I knew I needed to go to San Diego.
Real celebrities, true crime. We give you the story.
A step closer to solving the murder of Nicholas Cox.
It's in the woods off Shirley Francis Road.
The prime suspect, Alan James, unknowingly provides a location of the body.
We got him.
A search on the outskirts of Shreveport leads to the discovery in a shallow grave of the remains of Nicholas Cox.
You ready for a trip?
Where?
Arrest Alan James.
I knew that Alan James was in San Diego, California. My partner and I had to convince the police department that we needed to go to San Diego.
San Diego? That's right.
Every homicide detective knows that you want to go get your own suspect and you want to interview him.
Let the California boys handle it.
The police department sometimes wants to save money in any way they can. Their immediate thought was, we can send the local authorities to find him and ship him back to us.
What if they screw up our case?
You don't want him to be arrested and someone else attempt to talk to him and fail.
It's not happening. Request denied.
I figure.
Well, when my boss told me no, I expected him to say no. So I'd already formulated a plan on how to go around him, but I wanted to at least give him the courtesy to say no.
To be a successful homicide detective, you gotta be at least a little rebellious. Doing what you think is best for the case regardless of the consequences. We were like that, and Rod was no different.
He knew that getting approval for going on a trip was only possible if he could convince the top dog to say yes.
In this case, the person that Rod wanted on his side was the parish district attorney. And soon after meeting with his bosses, Rod had a chance encounter with the DA.
The DA knew Rod, knew his work, and liked him. And Rod took advantage of that meeting.
He told the DA about the Nicholas Cox case and how he thought his boss didn't think that the police had the funds for Rod to finish the job.
The DA agreed to help. A short time later, Rod found out that the trip had been approved. Rod and another detective fly to San Diego to pick up this investigation and find Alan James. The local law enforcement pinpoint exactly where they believe Alan James is holed up.
They said Alan's cell phone was tracked to this place.
We knew who we were looking for. We had been studying Alan James' picture, so we knew what he looked like. We didn't expect to see him, no.
And out of nowhere, a man emerges from the building that they're watching.
Who's this?
This guy comes walking out. Like, we're looking at each other in disbelief. Is that him?
It's Alan.
That is him. You know, it's get out.
Alan.
His head just dropped, and at that point, you know, you got your guy.
Alan James is in custody. The interview is going to be done in this zip code on the West Coast.
Yeah, you wish to make a statement, talk to me, tell me how this happened.
Yeah. Alan's initial story is that they went to a convenience store, just kind of driving around.
We went to the gas station over there by my house. Got something to eat first.
Okay, where were y'all riding in?
In his car.
So immediately he acknowledges being there. Obviously, that's the first part of an interrogation. You want them at the crime scene. And you start to narrow it down from there.
After grabbing a bite to eat at this convenience store, Alan says he and Nicholas encountered a stranger.
We stopped at a stop sign. Some dude came up and was like, "Hey, Cox." And he shot me. I just sat there for a minute. I just looked, you know what I'm saying? And then he just turned around and walked off. Like it wasn't nothing.
I can't believe the crap that's coming out of this guy's mouth.
What side of the car did the gunman come on?
Driver's side. And so that's when I put Nick over into the other side of the car, then I drove the car.
It makes absolutely no sense.
Alan was not telling the full story. And you can see the torment on his face. I mean, it was obvious.
He had the patience of a 25-year homicide veteran instead of some guy in his first year in this particular profession.
I know you got to be in knots, man, trying to sleep at night. I know it had to be difficult for you, man.
Oh, sweet.
Once you get it off your chest, just tell the truth. I mean, because it's going to come out.
Alan James, the prime suspect in the murder of Nicholas Cox, appears to be on the verge of confessing.
Oh, sweet.
Get it all off. You'll feel better.
It's time for Rod to bring this case home.
When you're in the car, did you have a gun?
Yeah.
Tell me how this thing happened.
I was driving.
Okay.
We used to ride around the country and just shoot at signs and stuff.
He told me he was riding with Nicholas, and he had a gun. He had a gun on his lap as he's driving.
He's like, yo, shoot the stop sign. I'm like, all right. So I shot the stop sign. The gun jammed. Shot out of jam. I did like this. Shot out of jam. At the same time, I unjammed it. A bullet came out. It just went off.
You know, obviously he's minimizing the story, but he's still trying to get it out.
This was a head trigger gun and barely touched it. And it just went off and I just looked.
A hair trigger, meaning it had a very light trigger. And if you touch it lightly, it's gonna go off.
I wanted to go to the police because I knew it was an accident. And I was thinking, well, nobody gonna listen.
Okay, did you think about going to the hospital?
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought about.
Detective Demery specifically asked Alan James, why didn't you take your buddy to the hospital? He said, I did. I got out of the car, but I realized that they're not gonna believe me.
I went to the house, packed up my stuff, got on the bus, and left.
The accident story makes no sense, holds no water. Rod is not considering it as he develops evidence in his head because he knows this young brother was lying.
We're gonna spend however long it takes, months, years, whatever, to get the truth of it. Or you can just simply tell us the truth and tell us what happened.
Tell us what happened. Tell us. An accident.
I don't believe it's an accident at all. And I push it to the point where I realized that that's not something he was gonna ever give up. But, you know, we take what we get.
Based on everything, Detective Demery believes he has everything he needs and knows what happened on that fateful night.
When Nicholas went to go see Alan, it was just I'm gonna go say goodbye. And I think once he hooked up with him, Alan saw his car, he's like, let me drive it.
Rod theorized that Alan was a bit jealous that his friend was still in the Navy and he got kicked out.
At some point, Nicholas told Alan to get himself together because Alan had gotten kicked out of the Navy, he was smoking weed, he was running around town.
While riding around, Nicholas says something that pisses Alan off.
At that point, Alan was sort of overwhelmed by sort of being chastised by his friend.
Alan is just like a ticking time bomb.
I believe it was a sort of an envy, a rage, and trying to prove himself as being some sort of a gangster.
He snaps and shoots Nicholas in the head.
He intentionally shot him and killed him. He drove around with his body in the trunk and disposed of his body and left town.
Alan James is brought back to Shreveport.
Ultimately, Ryan Porter was released on the obstruction of justice charges. Ballistics confirmed that the gun Porter had was not the murder weapon.
Alan James goes to trial and is convicted of second-degree murder.
He's sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Brad, looking at this case and understanding how you investigated it, that's really a testament to your skill and your ability. And you work for a fellow veteran the way you did, I mean, it means something because I'm a vet too.
The interesting thing about this case is that at that time, my son, who's now 15, was being born. I named him after that kid, Nicholas.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
This case is incredible to me because Rod Demery is someone who would later become my friend.
That's a lot of blood.
I see the parallels between Rod and myself. I see the parallels between Rod and my partner.
Pop the trunk.
When Rod saw that poor victim's clothing in the trunk of his own car, he harkened back to his military days.
Let's bring Nicholas home.
And unfortunately, standing over this dead sailor in the woods, Rod felt something there.
You ready for a trip?
And he worked this case to the point where he had to travel all the way to the other side of the country to make the person responsible for the death of Nicholas Cox pay.
The blood came out. It went off.
I just want to tell you, man, like, I'm proud to say that, you know, I know you and I know the type of job you've done.
Yeah, it's an honor, man. Yeah, I mean, to be able to be of service, you know. I think, like most homicide detectives, the only thing I was good at was homicide, you know.